On my way here, I actually watched his entire speech, and what I can say is that it was incredibly inspirational and it was raw. It was raw because just yesterday he was on the front lines in Bakhmut. Bakhmut is the fiercest battleground, fiercest fighting going on in Ukraine. Many men and women have laid their lives down, and as he mentioned, every single inch of Bakhmut is covered in blood from people fighting for their freedom and independence. And I think it was quite inspiring to see that President Zelensky also mentioned Australia. He called for additional military aid. And I think all those things that he expressed in the US, the sincere gratitude, the sincere respect, can be drawn to Australia as well. Australia has been a very strong supporter of Ukraine, and I hope that Australia can also follow suit the way that the US is and provide more aid to Ukraine.
Kateryna, there's about 4,500 displaced Ukrainians here, isn't there? How are they looking ahead to Christmas? How are they feeling?
I think it's a little bit bittersweet for them. I think that I deal very closely with the displaced people here in New South Wales and also all across Australia. They're incredibly grateful to be in a country that is warm and that is safe. That is not the case for the relatives and family that they have left behind in Ukraine. As we have seen throughout the past weeks and months, Russia has been indiscriminately firing missiles across all of Ukraine. It has attacked critical infrastructure, which means that the majority of Ukraine is without power, without electricity, and without running water. It's incredibly difficult.
Given that, how are they managing to keep in touch with their husbands, their fathers, their sons?
It's very difficult. Sometimes there's no connection for weeks at a time. I myself, for example, was just celebrating my daughter's 3rd birthday last week, and I was speaking to my mother, her grandmother, and the connection just cut off.
Where are they?
They are currently in Kiev. And when the connection cut off, I didn't speak to her for a week after that. And I had no idea what had happened, whether there was a strike, whether the electricity went out, whether the power went out. So it's very emotional and it's very difficult.
Gosh, what are conditions like for the families there that have been left behind, and having, like we're seeing here, a Zoom conversation with a parent, with a loved one? I mean, what sort of conditions are they living in Ukraine?
Very difficult conditions, very unpredictable. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of it's very difficult to get through the day, never mind know what's going to happen tomorrow. If you look at the children in Ukraine, they've spent the better part of the year in bunkers, in bomb shelters, in cellars, while having to conduct online education, while also have to remain safe. So it's incredibly psychologically difficult, but now with the winter coming, it's also physically difficult. Temperatures drop to below zero, sometimes -10, -20. And when there's no power, no water, no heating, no light, it's very hard, especially now that Christmas is coming as well.
Are there still Ukrainians hoping to get to Australia?
Yes, absolutely. So Australia has issued over 9,500 temporary tourist visas, and we've only seen 4,500 of those people arrive. So we can see that there's a huge backlog of people that still want to come here. It's a matter of finding enough money for the ticket, also making sure that they can get out of Ukraine safely, because there are no commercial flights out of Ukraine, so they would have to physically cross the border on foot into neighboring countries and then make the incredibly long journey here.
And what does a Christmas for Ukrainians here in Australia look like? Because you don't celebrate Christmas Day, do you? Day.
Yes, so Christmas here is on the 25th of December. In Ukraine, it's on the 7th of January. It's a very rich in culture event. There are lots of traditions, including Christmas Eve in Ukraine. The table is set with a certain number of dishes, a candle is lit, and there might be candles lit all across Ukraine, but for very different reasons. They may not have power and electricity, and it may be dark, but I think that the light within their soul cannot be extinguished.
What does it mean to the families, to you, the people you talk to, that the lights in Sydney, the Christmas lights in Sydney went out last night, didn't they, in support?
It was an incredible act of solidarity. I received a call from Ukraine from a member of parliament on Sunday night at 1 a.m. saying that there's this global campaign. We are trying to get the biggest landmarks all across the world to shut their lights off for an hour, just to raise awareness about the conditions that Ukrainians currently have to face, about the missile strikes, about how difficult, cold, and unpredictable life in Ukraine is right now. And we were incredibly grateful to see the Lord Mayor Clover Moore respond respond. Dominic Perrottet, Minister Curé, that just responded within days and made this happen. We saw the lights go out at the Opera House, the Harbour Bridge, New South Wales Parliament, as well as Town Hall. And you can see little videos on social media, the before and after, and how grateful the community is here for Australia standing with Ukraine.